Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto had one eyes of a god, part 2, hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. A few days had passed since Naruto was brought back by Kakashi. He hadn't stirred, save for a few twitches, and some groans. His teammates and sensei breathed a sigh of relief upon learning that he wasn't catatonic, but the fact that he had been out for longer than they had anticipated was a bit concerning. Though he usually healed remarkably quickly thanks to the Nine Tails chakra, Naruto seemed to be recovering at a slower pace, even after being aided by Shizune's treatments. Sasuke and Kakashi had been aiding in the village reconstruction efforts with Yamato, while Sakura was assisting Shizune and tending to the wounded. Admittedly, Yamato was doing a bulk of the work. His Mokujin was immensely useful, given that he could quite literally create full structures using only his chakra, so he became an invaluable tool. Kakashi and Sasuke had been relegated to basic construction work alongside civilians and shinobi alike. The trio had always found time to visit Naruto at the end of each day to see him and check in with Shizune. By this point he had bandages wrapped around his eyes, his headband sat folded next to his head. Sasuke, Kakashi, and Sakura would usually spend their time reminiscing and discussing the progress of reconstruction while they visited Naruto. They knew he couldn't hear them, but just being in his presence made them feel like they were still a complete team. Still, they couldn't help but worry about him, and each of them had quietly hoped he would wake up soon. There were no dreams. There were no voices. There was no mindscape. There was no fox. There was no cage. There was no beginning. There was no end. There was only darkness. There was only silence. Naruto heard muffled voices as he stirred. He recognized the voices of Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura. There was a fourth voice that he hadn't heard in a while. Shizune. What's she doing here? He wondered. He noticed was lying on a small futon. His head hurt, feeling like he had taken one of Tsunade's punches. He groaned as he sat up, the voices silenced immediately. He tried to open his eyes, only to find that he couldn't. Sakura threw her arms around the blonde. "You're awake," she breathed. Naruto returned her hug as he nodded into her shoulder. Sasuke put a hand on his friend's shoulder after Sakura let go. "About time you came around, blockhead," he quipped. Naruto threw a scowl in the direction of Sasuke's voice, which was chased by his signature foxy grin. "Welcome back, Naruto," Kakashi greeted, his tone carrying a laid-back delight. Naruto could practically see his eye crinkle in his signature smile. "Thanks, sensei," he said warmly. He felt a soft hand ruffle his hair, followed by a familiar voice. "Good to see you're awake and able to sit up on your own. How do you feel?" Shizune asked. "I feel okay. My head kinda hurts, but I don't feel weak or sick or anything," Naruto explained. "But I can't see. I tried to open my eyes earlier, but they wouldn't, well, open. What gives?" Shizune gently took his hand and led it up to his temple, letting him feel the bandages that were wrapped around his eyes. Naruto's breath hitched. "What the hell? What happened to my eyes? Am I blind?" He started to panic before Shizune took his hand once more. "Calm down, it's alright. You're not blind. Your eyes were just injured, so we needed to wrap them to make sure they heal properly," she explained. Naruto could hear the undertones of secrecy in her tone and the way she hesitated. Naruto pursed his lips, throwing Shizune a look of doubt. "What do you mean injured?" he asked, forming air quotes over the last word. She was about to answer before Kakashi cleared his throat to get Naruto's attention. "We were actually hoping you'd be able to tell us that, Naruto," he began. "Your eyes were injured when I found you, you see." Naruto sat and pondered for a moment. He turned to Kakashi's general direction. "Wait, just how long was I out for?" he asked. He was met with silence before he heard Sakura speak up in his soft, sympathetic voice. "You were asleep for 9 days." Naruto's jaw hit the floor. If his eyes weren't bandaged shut, no doubt they would be the size of dinner plates. He sat in silence for a moment, poring over what Sakura had told him. He'd only ever been unconscious if he was seriously injured. This seemingly minor injury shouldn't have knocked him out for 9 whole days. His train of thought was interrupted by a hand on his shoulder. "Naruto, can you tell us what you remember before you woke up?" Kakashi gently asked. Naruto gave a small nod. "I found the guy controlling pain. His name was Nagato. I remember him using a hat that I'd never heard of. His friend said that it would revive everyone he killed. He mentioned something about hatred and pain and war and how I would face something in time. Then he told me that he believed I could bring true peace," he explained. He paused for a moment as he set his hands down in his lap. "After that, I remember the world spinning, then everything went dark," he said quietly. He felt Sakura grip his hand and squeeze to reassure him. He returned the gesture, a small smile tugging at his mouth. Kakashi sighed. Sakura gently laid Naruto down as Shizune made her way to him. She laid her hands over his eyes, channeling healing chakra into them. Naruto felt a tingling sensation in his eye sockets. He laid still as he felt the healing chakra enter his system. Shizune inwardly sighed in relief, knowing that this was the last session he would need. Naruto felt Shizun's hands leave his head. He sat up again, scratching the back of his head, avoiding the bandages. So, how bad is it? How much longer will I have these bandages over my eyes? Naruto asked anxiously. He was worried that his vision would be impaired, which would mean his abilities as a shinobi would be blunted, which would mean he wouldn't be as strong as he would need to be to protect people. His trepidation only increased when he was met with silence, the air thick with anticipation. He flinched when he felt hands reach behind his head, but relaxed as soon as they started to unwrap the bandages. He sat still with bated breath as the last of the bandages were carefully peeled away from his face. "Can you open your eyes, Naruto?" Shizun gently asked. Naruto slowly opened his eyes to see Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke, and Shizun all sitting in front of him in an arc, their eyes wide. They all let out a gasp as he fully opened his eyes. Shizun and Sakura both brought their hands up to their chest. Sasuke activates his Sharingan out of instinct, and Kakashi simply stared at him wide-eyed. Naruto blinked a few times. He could see perfectly fine. In fact, he could see even better than before. The world looked sharper, minute details were suddenly more noticeable. He cocked his head to one side, eyeing the people in front of him. Is something wrong? I can see perfectly fine, in fact I can kinda see better than before, he explained, while sheepishly rubbing the back of his neck. I think you'd better see for yourself, Naruto, Kakashi said slowly. He gestured to Sakura, who went through a couple of hand seals before a sheet of ice materialized in front of him, its surface instantly polishing to a mirror finish. Naruto looked at his reflection, seeing the purple eyes whitening to the size of dinner plates, before he let out a yelp, and jumped back. WH, what the fuck happened to my eyes? Why are they purple? Why do they look like that? What happened to my blue eyes? What is going on? Naruto was hysterical, and on the verge of hyperventilating. The ice mirror instantly melted, revealing Sakura wordlessly lunging towards Naruto, her hand pulled back. Her open palm met his left cheek with a loud slap, snapping him out of his hysteria. Naruto went stiff, as a board, his gaze focused on Sakura, who despite her stony expression, held concern in her emerald eyes. Naruto took a deep breath, regaining his composure. Thanks. I needed that. Can you make another small mirror, Sakura? I want to look at my eyes some more, he said quietly. Sakura nodded, and made a small ice mirror in front of him. He stared at his reflection, examining his muted purple eyes with thin, black concentric circles, looking like ripples. He used his fingers to gently pull down his lower eyelid to see just how far the purple and ripples went. His entire eye was the same shade of muted purple save for where his iris would be, which was slightly darker than the rest of his eye, and outlined with a thin black circle. The narrow, black pupils gave his new eyes a more unsettling appearance. He found himself feeling a little creeped out by just how intense his gaze was now. He turned to Kakashi. This isn't a transformation, is it? He had a feeling it wasn't either, but he was secretly hoping that this was just some kind of high level that not even his sensei could break. Kakashi shook his head dejectedly. Unfortunately, it isn't. I had thought the same thing when I first found you and examined your eyes. I even checked with my Sharingan, but found no signs of any transformation. Even if it was a high-level transformation, it would have been released as soon as Shizun started healing you, Kakashi explained. Naruto gave a small nod in response. So, what exactly is up with my eyes? What are they? He asked. Why do I feel like I've seen these eyes before? They seem so familiar, Naruto thought. The sense of deja vu was part of the reason he had nearly slipped into hysterics earlier, aside from the fact that his own blue eyes were gone, and replaced by whatever these eyes are. Well, put simply, they're ninjutsu, not unlike Sasuke's Sharingan or the Haika's Byakugan. Yours is called the Rinnegan, Kakashi explained. Naruto cocked his head. If they're ninjutsu, how come I can't turn them on and off like the Sharingan or the Byakugan? Kakashi raised his pointer finger upwards, meeting Naruto's inquisitive gaze with his own half-lidded one. Your Rinnegan is different from either of those. One of the main differences being that it's always active, meaning you can't necessarily turn it off like the Sharingan or the Byakugan, he began. Not only that, but the Rinnegan are one of if not the most powerful jutsu. Those eyes you've got are really quite special, he finished jovially. Naruto beamed, and shot Sasuke a wry, foxy grin. Looks like you're gonna need to step your jutsu game up, duckbit, he teased. TCH, as if you'd be able to keep up, dummy, Sasuke shot back with a smirk. Not only are they powerful, Kakashi interrupted, throwing the two in a knowing look. They're also very rare. I've only ever heard of 2 people possessing the Rinnegan, and only ever seen one other person with them, aside from you, Naruto. Naruto swallowed, as a knot formed in his stomach. Who are the others? He asked, his voice thick with trepidation. A sense of dread was seeping its way into him, as his mind started putting some of the pieces together. He had recognized the Rinnegan because he had seen it before, he just didn't want to believe it, didn't want to remember. Kakashi's gaze was unwavering, as he spoke evenly. The first was a man known as the Sage of Six Paths. He's more of a myth or legend, and is said to be the ancestor of all shinobi. He was also the first and, until recently, only wielder of the Rinnegan. The second one was well. Naruto let out a quivering sigh. Pain, he finished quietly. Kakashi nodded in response. No wonder they seemed so familiar. Pain and Nagato had these exact eyes. But why do I have them? I'm not sure about my mom, but my dad didn't have any ninjutsu, at least, as far as I could tell, the blonde stated. He winced as he realized what he had just unintentionally revealed about his parentage. Kakashi's eyes narrowed, as the rest of the group looked at the blonde with perplexity. And just how would you know that your father didn't have any ninjutsu, exactly? Kakashi probed, his tone bearing an edge that was usually reserved for scolding. Team 7 collectively flinched at Kakashi's tone. Naruto averted his eyes down to the sheets in front of him, avoiding his sensei's stern gaze. I met him, he said sheepishly, rubbing the back of his neck once again. You met your father? Kakashi asked, his tone softening to one of concerned curiosity. Naruto gave a small nod. I remember laying on my back in my mindscape after I started seeing red, and then the Nine Tails started talking to me, saying stuff about how he could take away my suffering, tempting me, and stuff. He told me I just needed to remove the seal on the cage that was holding him. I nearly did it. I was about to remove it when someone caught me, and snapped me out of what I was doing. The fox called him the fourth Hokage. He knew my name, he said he named me, and said I was his son. That's when it clicked that the fourth Hokage was my dad. He fixed the seal on my stomach, and after that I left my mindscape, he explained, his voice breaking at the mention of his father. He felt tears stinging the corners of his eyes, as he looked back up to see that Kakashi's gaze had softened. The rest of the group, even Sasuke, wore sympathetic expressions. They all knew how much it meant to Naruto that he finally knew who his father was after so many years. Minato Namikaze, Kakashi said wistfully. He was my sensei, and one of the greatest men I've ever had the privilege of knowing, he said quietly, a far-off look in his eye. He turned his gaze back to his student. Naruto, your father loved you. More than anything, more than life, he said with sincerity. Naruto could have sworn he saw Kakashi's eyes glistening. He nodded in response, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. So, like I was saying, since I'm fairly sure I don't have a bloodline, there's no way I awakened my eyes like Sasuke awakened his Sharingan back when we were genin, he reasoned before Sakura cleared her throat. There's something you should know, Naruto. When Kakashi-sensei brought you back, I checked your injuries to see how bad they were, and I noticed something a little odd about them, she began, taking a deep breath. Your injuries weren't consistent with anything that could have been done with a kunai or someone ripping your eyes out with their bare hands. It felt like someone had used a scalpel to carefully cut your optic nerves and ocular muscles. Not only that, the cuts made had been partially healed before you got here, she explained to an enraped Naruto. Truth be told, the fact that you were healed before you got here is very likely the reason your sense of sight was saved, Shizune chimed in. If the person that healed you hadn't controlled the bleeding and done what they did, it's possible you would be blind right now. Naruto shuddered at the thought of losing his sense of sight because of a botched field surgery. He silently thanked the heavens for his abundant luck before giving a nod of understanding. Kakashi brought a hand to his chin, his head cocking to one side, as he pondered. He returned his attention back to his blonde student, his half-lidded gaze unwavering. This may be a bit of a stretch, but I think it's worth considering that Pain, or rather Nagato, might have given you his Rinnegan. Given that you don't remember anything after your conversation with him, the fact that your wounds were more consistent with the field surgery, and that they had been healed slightly before I found you, I think it's a possibility worth considering, Kakashi theorized. This earned him a puzzled stare from everyone in the tent, but, as Naruto mulled it over for a moment, he began to see his sensei's reasoning. Maybe his friend had something to do with it. I think her name was Kanao. No, that's not a core. No, Conan. Her name was Conan. She had pretty blue hair and amber eyes. Now that I think about it, I think I remember Nagato saying something to Conan before I went unconscious, Naruto said, as his teammate sighed in exasperation at his shoddy memory. It was to be expected, given that he was asleep for 9 days after being knocked unconscious, but they hadn't expected him to fumble over the name that much, after clearly remembering Nagato's name. Well, your eyes seem to be functioning just fine, and you can move your arms just fine. Do you think you can stand up on your own? Shizune spoke up after Naruto's stumbling. He nodded with a grin. Shizune removed the IV needle from his arm before she helped him up. Naruto let out an exaggerated sigh at the feeling of finally being able to stretch his legs. Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi stood up with the blonde. Sakura gave Naruto another hug, which he returned. Sasuke held out his fist, which Naruto bumped, exchanging friendly smirks with each other. Kakashi gave him a familiar smile, which he returned with his foxy grin. So, how's the village? Is reconstruction coming along okay? Naruto asked. Yeah, Captain Yamato has been busting his ass with his Mokujin creating buildings like houses, apartment complexes, and government buildings. He's got most of the area covered by now, I think, Sasuke answered. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. He knew Yamato's Mokujin could create structures, but he didn't realize that he was able to create actual livable buildings, too. Naruto hung his head, as his thoughts meandered to the Haika girl that had put herself between him and pain. What about Hinata? Is she okay? Is she alive? Sakura gently took his hand in hers. She's okay. The rod she was stabbed with missed her vital organs. She's just resting, she reassured me with a soft voice. Naruto gave a small nod. Thank the heavens, he breathed. He was grateful to the pale-eyed girl, but he felt a pang of guilt, knowing that she put herself in harm's way for his sake. And Granny? Is she okay? The blonde asked, as he raised his head, concern written on his face. Lady Tsunade is still unconscious, Shizune said quietly, her head hanging slightly. Summoning Katsuyu to protect everyone in the village during Pain's attack left her pretty exhausted. She's stable, but she needs more rest before her chakra levels return to normal, she explained, her voice carrying an undertone of sadness. Naruto nodded solemnly. At least she's alive. She's tough, she'll wake up soon, I just know it, he stated confidently. Shizune and Sakura both regarded him with small smiles. There's that trademark optimism of his, Sakura mused. She knew that his optimism would be much needed in the coming days, so she was glad he retained that despite everything. Naruto's stomach growled audibly. Kakashi quickly tossed Naruto a ration bar. The blonde examined the silver-wrapped parcel before shrugging and tearing it open to dig in. It was dry, but after not eating for over a week, he didn't care. It wasn't ramen, but it would be for now. Do you know if Ichiraku has been rebuilt yet? I would kill for a bowl of miso char siu ramen right now, Naruto said, drooling at the thought of his own personal ambrosia. I think I saw something in the shape of a ramen stall on my way over here, but I don't think it's open just yet, Sasuke answered. He would never admit it, but over the years he had come to really enjoy the company of Tucci and Aim. They were good people. The shoyu seafood ramen wasn't half bad either. The only thing that could have made it better would be if they offered tomatoes as a side dish. Naruto pouted at the cruel reality of his favorite place in the world not being open yet, but he understood that things take time. He turned to his sensei, as an idea popped into his head. Hey, Kakashi-sensei, do you think it would be possible for you to help me train to use my Rinnegan? You have a Sharingan, which is a ninjutsu, so he inquired. Kakashi brought a hand to his chin, mulling his student's question over for a moment. Well, I can certainly try. But like I said earlier, the Rinnegan is different from the Sharingan. However, as your sensei I'll do my best, given my limited knowledge, he said reassuringly. Naruto was about to burst out of the medical tent before Kakashi silently put a hand up for him to stop. The blonde cocked his head, miffed at the denial of his exit. What gives? Shouldn't I be training with these new eyes of mine? He asked indignantly. Kakashi regarded his student with his usual half-lidded stare. Well, it's good that you're so eager to train again and get even stronger. It's important to consider your circumstances, he explained sagely. Firstly, you just woke up after being asleep for 9 days. I know you say you feel fine, but it's best that you ease into training and let your body get accustomed to your eyes, which I'm certain feel different than before, he explained. Naruto nodded in response. Speaking of which, your new eyes are to be kept secret. Nobody besides the people in this tent and Lady Tsunade are to know about them. As far as I'm concerned, they're an S-class secret unless Lady Tsunade says otherwise, he said with finality. Naruto considered his sensei's words. I guess he's right, I'm pretty sure nobody knows I have the Rinnegan, and who knows what could happen if word got out that I did. Heaven forbid Kabuto comes after me. Or worse, his thoughts trailed off, as he shuddered at the idea of someone coming after him simply for his eyes. Never mind the fact that he was the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox. So how do I keep my eyes a secret? My hair isn't exactly long enough for me to hide my eyes, especially not with my headband. Kakashi quickly produced a pair of sunglasses that resembled the ones worn by the Abiram clan. Naruto glanced between the sunglasses and the silver-haired Cyclops, a perplexed expression plastered on his face. Sunglasses? Really? Why not a transformationer, he asked. Even with your chakra reserves, you still aren't good at it, and holding the transformation would be a constant drain on your chakra. That, and well, frankly, anybody above a genin would be able to see through either, Kakashi explained, a little too cheerfully. Naruto nervously chuckled at the bluntness of his sensei. He may be tactless at times, but he's right when he's right. He took the sunglasses and put them on. Interestingly, the sunglasses didn't darken his vision, as he thought. Rather, they seemed to act more as one-way mirrors, letting him see out, but not letting others see in. Now then, Kakashi began, as he regarded his 3 students. I think it's safe to say that we all ought to go get some rest. Even with the village being mostly rebuilt for the time being, we still need to provide security and assist with construction. That, and I'm sure you all are eager to spend some time together now that Naruto is awake. I'll see you all tomorrow, he finished with a masked smile before he exited the tent. The Chunin of Team 7 thanked Shizune before setting out together, walking through the village and seeing how reconstruction was coming along. Naruto had remembered Hiruzen mentioning the will of fire in passing, which he shrugged off, as some proverb that old geezers use when talking about whatever old people talked about. But seeing the way the village was coming together to rebuild the village had made him realize that the will of fire was something that really did exist in the people of Konoha. People had begun recognizing Naruto despite his sunglasses. Word had gotten around that he was the one who had beaten Pain and saved the village. He wasn't used to positive attention after being the village pariah for so many years, but he had to admit that it felt nice not to have dirty looks shot at him every time he passed by someone. He responded politely to everyone who had greeted him, and thanked him, albeit a little sheepishly. Having Sakura and Sasuke there with him helped him not feel too awkward. Sasuke led the way, since he was the one most involved with aiding in the construction. The trio had talked the whole way towards the residential district, parting ways once Sakura was near her home. Sasuke led them to Naruto's newly rebuilt apartment complex, which didn't look nearly as shoddy as he remembered it. Some parts could do with a coat of paint, but it was shaping up to be a rather nice complex. Well, here we are. It's in the same place, so you know where to go. I'll see you later, Naruto, Sasuke said before he handed him a key, and headed off in the opposite direction of Naruto's apartment complex. Naruto waved goodbye before he stepped into his new old apartment. Ha! It seems roomier than I remember, he thought aloud. He shrugged, and chalked it up to the generosity of the village populace. It was astounding how quickly things were being rebuilt. His apartment already had furniture, a coat of paint, and electricity, to boot. Naruto looked in the cupboards, hoping to find some food, preferably some instant ramen, only to be met with the empty stare of the back paneling of said cupboards. He let out an audible groan. He shouldn't be too surprised. No doubt, the village was sustaining itself on the food banks it had set aside for natural disasters, so food would be scarcer than they were used to until things got back up and running. Still, you would think that non-perishables would be in abundance, he muttered to himself. He realized he was still wearing his sunglasses, and removed them, setting them on his kitchen table. He decided to head to the bathroom to examine his new eyes further. Naruto stared at his reflection, finding it hard to recognize himself. The purple ringed orbs were so foreign on his face, their intense gaze unwavering. This is gonna take some getting used to, he thought, as he let out a sigh. Despite the bizarre appearance of the Rinnegan, his eyes still communicated some degree of emotion. He could tell that his eyes displayed the confusion he was feeling about his old blue eyes being replaced by these relics of power. He stared at himself for a few moments more, trying to sort through the cacophony of thoughts whirling through his mind. He let out another sigh before heading towards his bedroom. Naruto sat himself down on his bed, pondering what had happened during his fight with Nagato, and afterwards. He figured that Nagato must have had something to do with this. He was the last person to have possessed the Rinnegan, after all. The only question was, what exactly did he do? He couldn't have done much. He was practically on death's door even before he used the Rin Tensei. Naruto rubbed his temples, feeling a headache coming on. He thought about his father, the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. He didn't see any ninjutsu when he met him in his mindscape. Then again, he wasn't sure if the souls of the dead still retained their ninjutsu when they passed on, or in his father's case, sealed a portion of their chakra within their son. His thoughts drifted towards his mother. Naruto shut his eyes, as he felt the beginnings of tears forming. He knew who his father was, at long last, but still his heart ached. For, as long as he could remember, he had wanted to know who his mother was. He wanted to know if she loved him. Despite not knowing her, he knew that deep down he loved her. He wondered if maybe the Rinnegan came from her, maybe it was her bloodline. He shook his head, remembering the conversation he had with Kakashi. Still, some part of him hoped that his eyes were a gift from his mother. Naruto's train of thought was interrupted, as he heard his apartment door being opened. His eyes snapped open, as he sprang up off his bed, jogging towards his living room. His jaw went slack, as he beheld the last Uchiha of Konoha taking his sandals off, a bag slung over his shoulder. Naruto could see skulls peeking out of the top of the bag. Sasuke took notice of his teammate, turning to the blonde with an even gaze, as Naruto stared at him incredulously. Sasuke, what are you doing here? How did you get in? The door, Sasuke replied plainly. Naruto groaned. I mean, how did you open the door? With the doorknob. I turned it with my hand, the Uchiha explained dryly. Naruto slapped his hand against his forehead, growing more irritated. I mean, how the hell did you unlock the door to my apartment, wise ass? This, Sasuke stated, as he held up a key. Naruto's brow furrowed, as he frowned at his teammate. Why the fuck do you have a key to my apartment, Uchiha? He spat. Sasuke maintained his gaze, his onyx eyes unmoving. He had one hell of a poker face. It's not just your apartment, Uzumaki, he said evenly. Naruto's eyes narrowed, as his brow furrowed even further. His mouth moved, but he found no words. He stood there looking like a fish out of water. I live here, too, moron, Sasuke stated flatly. Naruto cocked his head, his jaw went slack, as his brow furrowed even further. He was utterly speechless. Sasuke rolled his eyes, as he let out a vexed sigh. I'm moving in with you, you great lummox, he said, his tone only showing slight irritation that the blonde was unable to put two and two together. Naruto's head straightened, as his face went from one of irritation to one of curiosity. You're moving in with me. But why? Why not stay in the Uchiha compound like you had been? Well, I was considering it. But the fact of the matter is that that place has a lot of memories, not all of them are good, either, Sasuke explained. Naruto nodded, processing his response. Sasuke had a point, it was just shy of a miracle he hadn't had a full-on nervous breakdown from living in a ghost town. He knew Sasuke loved his mother dearly, and her memory was likely one of the few that kept him afloat. Naruto had always made it a point to visit him at the Uchiha compound now and again, or to invite him over to his place for tea or just to talk. I think it's time I let that part of my past go, Sasuke began. We've been best friends since my mom found out you were living in that apartment after you got kicked out of the orphanage. You were the only one who checked up on me after my family was killed. Hell, you let me stay with you so I wouldn't be left to my own devices. I know you were there when I told Sakura this, but in the time after the massacre, when you were the one looking after me, that's when I really started to see you as my brother. His tone was even, typical of the Uchiha air, but Naruto knew that he was being sincere. He offered Sasuke a small smile, his purple rippled eyes softening. Sasuke started removing the scrolls from his bag. We've always looked out for each other, so I figured we would keep that up. I'll likely return to the Uchiha compound one day. When that will be, I don't really know. Maybe I'll revive the Uchiha clan someday and move back there to wipe the slate clean, but I suppose I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. There was an air of wistfulness as he spoke of his former home and the possibility of reviving one of the three great clans of Konoha. Naruto eyed the scrolls that Sasuke had set on the table. What's with the scrolls? Sasuke gestured towards the scrolls in question. Our storage scrolls. I stopped by the food bank to get us some groceries, along with dinner for tonight. Naruto raised an eyebrow as Sasuke unfurled one of the scrolls and channeled chakra into the storage seal. With a poof and a cloud of smoke, a pair of instant ramen cups appeared. Naruto's face stretched into an ear-to-ear smile at the sight. I don't love this stuff as much as you, but I know that you would save this flavor for special occasions, he said to his elated teammate. The smile on Naruto's face was comically huge. Plus, I like the soy sauce flavor. Reminds me of the shoyu from Michiraku. So, I figured we'd celebrate you waking up, and the whole saving the village thing, he explained, as he put on a kettle to boil. Naruto opened his mouth to thank Sasuke before a thought invaded his mind. Wait, where are you going to sleep? There's only one bedroom, so one of us is gonna need to take the couch, he wondered. Sasuke pointed towards the hallway. Naruto hadn't noticed that there was another door across from him. Naruto cocked his head, staring down the hallway. It was no wonder the place seemed bigger, it was meant for two people. The kettle whistled, breaking Naruto out of his stupor. He turned to see Sasuke pouring the boiling water into the two ramen cups, setting pairs of chopsticks on top of the paper lids. The two sat across from each other, as Naruto gave his new roommate a foxy grin. Sasuke returned with a smile of his own. The two ate in comfortable silence before turning in for the night. Naruto and Sasuke were woken by loud knocking on their apartment door. Both groaned as they trudged out of their beds to meet each other in the hallway. Naruto still had his sleeping cap on, while Sasuke had pushed his red sleep mask up to his forehead. They regarded each other with heavy eyes before turning towards the living room to answer the door. Both were grumbling about who could possibly have the nerve to wake them up not long after sunrise. Naruto opened the door to an out-of-breath Sakura. The two boys turned to each other, each raising an eyebrow. Naruto sleepily rubbed an eye. Sakura, what's going on? Why are you so out of breath? He asked before yawning. Sakura took a deep breath to try and steady her heart, which threatened to pound its way out of her chest. Come with me, quickly, she began, as her lungs fought for precious oxygen. It's Lady Tsunade, she's awake. Naruto and Sasuke's eyes bulged as their jaws went slack. The duo turned tail and sprinted to their rooms to throw on their clothes and headbands. Naruto was about to step out of the apartment before Sasuke tapped on his shoulder, holding his sunglasses. Naruto winced and put them on, rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. The trio set out, leaping over rooftops, as Sakura led the way. Naruto had found it strange that they were heading towards the great stone faces, but figured that there were parts of the village that were unknown to him. His days as a prankster had meant he found plenty of places to hide from Anbu and other shinobi. Sakura had led her teammates to a hidden entrance below the face of the first Hokage that was guarded by Anbu. After verifying their identities and their reasons for being there, they were granted entry. The Anbu agent channeled chakra into a hidden seal, making the stone give way to a heavy metal door that creaked as it opened. The door slammed shut behind them, as Sakura led her teammates down a stone corridor. Naruto couldn't help but study his surroundings in awe. If a place like this exists, I wonder how many other secret locations there are in the village that only Granny and Anbu know about, he mused to himself. Sasuke kept his gaze straight ahead for the most part, only allowing his eyes to glance at the various doors and hallways that they passed by. He had to admit, the idea of having a location like this hidden in essentially plain sight was impressive. He never would have guessed that the same mountainside that the great stone faces sat upon held a complex like this. The three Chunin stopped at another door guarded by two Anbu. Once again, they were asked to verify who they were before they were let inside. They stepped into a small stone hospital room, where they were greeted by a flustered Shizune trying to cajole Tsunade, who was standing up and disconnecting herself from her IV drip back into bed. The trio grimaced at the all-too-familiar situation. They had joked amongst themselves in the past that Shizune was like Tsunade's babysitter, and scenarios like this only furthered that joke into a sad truth. "Granny, you're awake." And standing up, the blonde greeted cheerfully, though he ended on a slightly apprehensive note. Sakura and Sasuke bowed, the former glaring at Naruto before grabbing his head and pushing it into a deep bow. "Oh, come on, you three. Raise your heads." "Well, I appreciate the respect," Tsunade said, as she shot a look at her pseudo-grandson. "I'm not in the tower right now, and it's just us and the Anbu outside my door," she finished with a small smile. The three Chunin straightened and nodded, returning her smile, while Naruto wore his signature grin. "It'll take more than chakra exhaustion to keep me down. Besides, I've got a village to protect," the buxom Hokage stated resolutely. No sooner did the door open once again, revealing the cycloptic Chunin leader of Team 7. Kakashi gave a small bow to the Hokage, which she received with a nod. "Now then, as good as it is to see you all alive, and well, we have a few things to discuss. Unfortunately, the Hokage Tower hasn't been rebuilt in its entirety just yet, so this room will have to do. Don't worry, nothing will leave this room. Not only is it carved into solid rock, but there are soundproofing seals on the walls, floor, and ceiling. Now then, I believe you," Tsunade gestured towards Naruto. "Have something rather interesting to show me," she stated coolly. The blonde gulped, as he quickly glanced at his teammates, who offered him small nods of encouragement. Naruto took a breath before nodding to his Hokage and removing his sunglasses. Tsunade's features set into a hard analytical expression as she studied Naruto's newly acquired Rinnegan. She approached him slowly before gently grabbing his chin, tilting his head backwards, left, and right before releasing him. "Look left, look right," she directed, as he did so, revealing the extent of the muted purple and its ripples. Tsunade hummed as she observed. "So, it's true, you've acquired the Rinnegan. Kakashi and Sakura told me that you don't remember what happened, but just to verify. Do you remember what happened and how you came to have these eyes?" Naruto meekly shook his head. He told her about his conversation with Nagato, and how he told him that he could bring about peace, but that he would face hatred, pain, and death in the future. After that, the world spun, and he was out like a light. Sakura and Shizune had informed her of the state of Naruto's wounds when he was first brought back by Kakashi. Naruto had mentioned Nagato's friend, Konan, in passing. She silently noted that this Konan could possibly be connected to Naruto's acquisition of the Rinnegan, and she would follow up on her suspicion later. Tsunade pursed her lips before taking a deep breath, speaking with a soft voice. "Naruto, do you understand what those eyes are capable of?" Naruto stared at the ground before shaking his head. "The most I remember is what Katsuyu explained to me, what I saw during the fight, and what happened that revived everyone. Other than that, I'm pretty clueless," Naruto dejectedly explained. He snapped his gaze up to meet Tsunade's honey-colored eyes, determination burning on his own. "But that's not gonna stop me from training to use them, as best I can. I asked Kakashi-sensei, and he said he would help me. That counts for something, right?" A smirk tugged at the corner of Tsunade's mouth. She ruffled her pseudo-grandson's hair. "That's the spirit, brat." The others couldn't help but smile at Naruto's resolve. Kakashi stepped forward. "Lady Tsunade, regarding Naruto's training, I'd like to request permission to use Training Ground 44, in addition to Training Ground 3. Given the circumstances, I think it's best that, as few people are aware of Naruto's ninjutsu, as possible," he stated. Tsunade placed a hand on her hip, considering the Chunin's request. The Hokage shook her head after a pregnant silence. "Well, I completely understand your line of thinking. I'm afraid I'm going to have to deny your request. As you said, given the circumstances, it's best that as few people as possible are made aware of Naruto's eyes. Training Ground 44, while outside the village and away from prying eyes, is almost exclusively used as a stage for the Chunin exams. Using it as an actual training ground might indirectly draw unnecessary attention from certain parties," she answered, her voice dripping with disgust at her last words. Kakashi caught her drift, and any protests he had thought to make were shelved. He had heard of Danzm and his meddling ways. He had witnessed it in the way he had defied Hiruzen, the way he operated Root, and the way he had proposed turning Naruto into a weapon like Suna had done to their own Jinchuriki. The Warhawk learning of Naruto's Rinnegan could only lead to bad things for his students. Kakashi bowed his head. "I understand, Lady Hokage." Tsunade hummed in response. "Now then, I'm going to go with Shizune and see some of the patients personally. Sakura, you take the day off." From what I've heard, you, Haku, and Ino have done a superb job in assisting Shizune. I'll have to let them know that they should take today off, as well. Sakura gave her master a relieved smile, and bowed her head. Naruto, you'd best head off, and start figuring out those eyes of yours. Just be careful, alright? The older blonde said with a warm smile. Naruto nodded with his signature foxy grin before he replaced the sunglasses on his face. Team 7 bowed once more to the Hokage before setting off. The sight of Training Ground 3 was a welcome one for the members of Team 7. It being just outside the village proper had left it untouched from Pain's attack. Sasuke, Sakura, and a sunglasses-clad Naruto walked alongside their sensei towards the familiar stream, memories drifting back to them with each step. Their first bell test, the long hours of training before the Chunin exams, and the second bell test after Naruto and Sasuke's return from their respective training trips, had all taken place here. The group came to a stop just shy of the banks of the stream. Now then. Naruto, I know this might seem bothersome at first, but just trust me, Kakashi began. Naruto gave a firm nod. I'd like to start with basic chakra control exercises. We can't be too sure how your Rinnegan has affected your chakra network, since it wasn't acquired through conventional means. First, try climbing one of the trees. If you make it to the top, head to the stream, and walk on the water. If you find you're able to walk on the water just fine, then try running on the water. Sasuke, and I will be observing you with our Sharingan active to see if there's anything unusual with your chakra. Sakura will be on standby in case something does happen. Go ahead when you're ready, Kakashi instructed, as he lifted his headband to reveal his other eye. Naruto gave a quick nod before jogging over to a decently sized tree, as Kakashi and Sasuke activated their Sharingan. After reaching the top, he jumped down and jogged towards the bank of the stream. He once again channeled chakra into his feet and took a step onto the surface of the water, finding himself able to walk with no problems. He started jogging back and forth over the water's surface, going so far as to sprint and dodge, as though he were dodging hits. What do you think so far, Sasuke? The silver-haired Chunin prompted. Nothing out of the ordinary, from what I can tell. Are you seeing a slightly denser concentration of chakra around his eyes, or is it just me? No, I see it, too. It doesn't seem like it's a big drain on his chakra reserves, though. It almost seems like Kakashi trailed off. Like his body is adapting to it, Sasuke finished. Kakashi hummed in acknowledgement. Having felt like his chakra control was still where it was before, Naruto stepped off the water's surface and jogged back towards his team. Kakashi and Sasuke examined the blonde, looking for anything abnormal, aside from the way his chakra was concentrating around his eyes. Well, it looks like your basic chakra control is about where it was before. We'll go over your elemental chakra after we get through some other things, the copy ninja explained. I want you to try and channel chakra into your eyes, like you're trying to activate them. Naruto raised an inquisitive eyebrow at his sensei's instruction. But I thought you said I couldn't turn the Rinnegan on and off like the Sharingan. That's true. Based on what Sasuke and I saw, it looks as though your chakra is passively concentrating around your eyes, which could account for your improved eyesight that you mentioned when you first woke up, Kakashi explained. Naruto's brows raised in realization. However, what I'm referring to is actively channeling chakra into your eyes, similar to how I channel chakra into my Sharingan eye to take advantage of its abilities. Naruto absorbed the words of his sensei. He knew Kakashi's Sharingan was a transplant, so it was different from Sasuke's, in that it technically couldn't be turned off in the same way an Uchiha could turn it off. Naruto nodded, formed the ram seal, and focused on channeling chakra into his eyes. He looked at his teammates and sensei, and let out a yelp. Holy crap. Is that chakra? I can see your chakra, the blonde cried. Behind his sunglasses, his eyes were as wide as they could be, his face was contorted in an expression of horror and bewilderment. The now visible chakra looked like a blue fire raging beneath his team's skins. He could see that chakra was concentrated around both of Sasuke's eyes and Kakashi's left eye, like what the two Sharingan users had described to him. Calm down, blockhead. Just stop actively channeling chakra to your eyes, and you won't be able to see ours, the Uchiha heir explained with an exasperated sigh. The blonde heeded his teammates' advice and cut the flow, his vision returning to normal. Naruto heaved a sigh of relief, wiping his forehead. Well, can you tell us what it looked like, Naruto? Kakashi prompted. Naruto explained that he could see the concentrated chakra in Kakashi's and Sasuke's eyes, as they mentioned, and how it was visible beneath their skin. This time Sakura spoke up. Were you able to see the full network with or just the chakra itself? That's the chakra, it kinda looked like blue fire. You know, like how raw chakra looks, Naruto explained. Sakura nodded, as Kakashi cleared his throat to get his blonde student's attention. I know I told you to ease into training, but I'm curious, do you think you'd be able to spar with Sasuke, Naruto? To jutsu only. It's perfectly alright if you don't feel up to it. Of course I'm up to it. I have to prove that my jutsu can be just as good as that duck-haired jerk. Naruto squawked, cutting off Kakashi. The Chunin gave a nervous, masked smile, as Sakura groaned. Sasuke simply harmed as he strode over in front of his boisterous teammate before falling into his taijutsu stance, his Sharingan blazing. Kakashi raised a hand to pause and addressed Naruto. Try fighting while channeling chakra into your eyes. I'll keep observing with my Sharingan to see how it changes things, the silver-haired ninja instructed before him, and Sakura put some distance between themselves and the two eager combatants. Kakashi raised his arm as Naruto channeled chakra into his Rinnegan, causing Sasuke to light up like a blue torch, while the blonde fell into his own taijutsu stance. The two charged at each other as soon as Kakashi dropped his arm. Sasuke was fast. His first strike was a feint for Naruto's face. The real attack came not a second later. The quick jab aimed at his unguarded midsection. The blonde was already moving, parrying the jab with a knee aimed for Sasuke's chest. The Uchiha quickly blocked with his free hand, halting Naruto's momentum, before narrowly dodging a blow from the blonde aimed for his head. Sasuke's Sharingan gave him the ability to see everything, as though it were in slow motion. Combined with his speed, he was nearly untouchable. This meant he could sneak jabs when openings presented themselves. The two pushed off each other, creating some distance. Sasuke eyed the blonde, wondering how he was able to see his blow coming. Naruto tried to contain his excitement. He knew just how fast Sasuke was, but he had seen his attack coming, and blocked it, something he was hardly ever able to achieve. As soon as they charged each other, Naruto felt the world slow down. Sasuke's normally blindingly fast movements had slowed considerably, giving Naruto time to react to the feint, and block Sasuke's attack. The two charged head-on once more. Naruto's right arm pulled back, ready to deliver a crushing punch. Sasuke let the attack barely miss him before he found his opening. He brought his fist upwards, gunning for Naruto's solar plexus. Sasuke's breath hitched, as Naruto caught the fist meant to knock the wind out of him. The blonde went for an uppercut, only for it to be caught by the Uchiha. Sasuke leaned backwards, positioning himself to smash both of his feet at Naruto's chest. The blonde grunted, as the blow connected with a resounding thud, sending both flying from each other once again, Sasuke landing more gracefully than Naruto did. Naruto grit his teeth, as pain spiderwebbed from his sternum. Sasuke simply stood back, studying his teammate and opponent. Both painted, as adrenaline coursed through their veins, their hearts pounding in their chests. The Uchiha was dumbfounded as to how Naruto was able to block another of his attacks, especially after telegraphing such a heavy first move. Naruto cursed under his breath at the fact that Sasuke was able to land that hit. Naruto and Sasuke barreled towards each other. Sasuke aimed a knee at Naruto's thigh. This time, rather than block, Naruto took the hit, wincing, as the blow connected. The blonde swung right, Sasuke dodged the left hook, feeling knuckles graze the tip of his nose. The Uchiha aimed a punch at Naruto's kidney. The blonde saw it coming, and parried, swinging his right fist at his opponent's head. Sasuke ducked forward to avoid the hook. Suddenly, pain rang through his skull, as Naruto smashed his head into Sasuke's. The sickening crunch of the collision echoed through the combatants and spectators' ears alike, eliciting a grunt from Sasuke, and a wince from Sakura. The rivals pushed off once more, both clutching their heads in a daze. Sasuke groaned as he got his bearings, while Naruto shook his head to make the stars he was seeing go away. They stood and glared at each other for a moment before dropping back into their respective taijutsu stances. Fists clenched before the ninja launched themselves at each other. Dominant hands cocked back to deliver a final, decisive punch. A roar erupted from both as they closed the distance. They anticipated their blows connecting with the other's head, only for their fists to be caught by their silver-haired sensei. The opponents screeched to a halt, each staring at their Chunin sensei, dumbstruck. "I think that's enough," Kakashi stated flatly. Sasuke's blazing crimson eyes faded back to onyx, while Naruto caught the chakra flow to his own concealed eyes. Kakashi released their fists after the two Chunin visibly relaxed, lowering his headband to cover his Sharingan eye. "Not bad, Whiskers," Sasuke praised with a smirk. Naruto shot a scowl that was chased by his own smirk. "Not bad yourself, Slowpoke," he sneered. Sasuke only scoffed at Naruto's jab. "It was definitely interesting watching the two of you spar," Kakashi began before turning to Naruto, his tone even. "I had expected your Rinnegan to enhance your perception, but keeping up with a Sharingan user was surprising, to say the least." Sakura jogged towards her team, immediately looking over her teammates for any serious injuries. "Neither of you broke anything, did you?" she prompted. Naruto and Sasuke shook their heads, as Sakura let out a small sigh of relief. Their teammates' spars could get intense, even for those that were watching. Their rivalry was such that it hindered their ability to hold back during their matches. While it made for effective training, winner both often walked away with something broken, fractured, dislocated, bleeding, or badly bruised. Naruto had joked that it was practical exercises for her medical ninjutsu, a remark that had earned him a smack to the back of the head. "I might not have a Sharingan, but from the sidelines, it was impressive watching you two duke it out," Sakura said, a proud smile tugging at her mouth. "Naruto really gave Sasuke a run for his money, especially with that headbutt," the Kunoichi pointed out. Naruto beamed at the praise from his pink-haired teammate. Sasuke let out an exasperated sigh. Yeah, I gotta hand it to you, blockhead. You really surprised me when you blocked that first jab. Also, that headbutt hurt, jerk, he admitted, muttering the last few words. Naruto gave a foxy grin before Kakashi spoke up. There's something else I think would be worth trying. Try creating a few shadow clones, he instructed. Naruto gave a quick nod before throwing his hands into the familiar hand seal. 3 shadow clones popped into existence in clouds of smoke, clad in the same orange and black jumpsuit and sunglasses as the original. Naruto and his copies immediately started stumbling, as though they had lost their sense of balance. The shadow clones disappeared in puffs of smoke as Naruto fell onto his behind, dazed. The blonde ninja groaned. Okay, ow. But also, what the hell? Kakashi raised an inquisitive eyebrow. What happened? I have no idea. Once my shadow clones appeared, it was like I could see what they were seeing. Except I saw everything at once, Naruto explained, rubbing his temples. Kakashi raised a hand to his chin. Interesting. It seems that the shared field of vision that Pain had with his bodies is present with your shadow clones. Naruto considered his sensei's words, as he felt the throbbing pain begin to subside. I guess that makes sense, since I don't have those bodies like he did, he reasoned aloud before a realization hit him. Wait a second, this means I won't be able to use shadow clones to learn stuff faster. Ichman shrugged, offering his student a sympathetic expression. I'm afraid not. It seems that's one of the unintended trade-offs. But, you have quite a strong work ethic, so I have complete faith that you'll make up for the lack of ability to use shadow clones to learn, he placated. Naruto pouted, grumbling about his secret technique being ruined by his eyes. That, or, you'll find a way to work around it, the silver-haired Ichman offered, his eye crinkling in its distinctive manner. His students returned the expression, Naruto offering his signature toothy grin. Naruto rose to his feet, scratching the back of his head pensively. I guess the first step would be to figure out how to use my shadow clones with this whole shared field of vision, he thought aloud. Kakashi nodded sagely. I'll keep helping you with matters regarding ninjutsu and chakra manipulation. I think Sasuke would be a great sparring partner, and can help improve your taijutsu, given that both your ninjutsu give you enhanced perceptive abilities. Since Sakura will be busy in the coming days assisting Lady Tsunade and Shizune, we'll need to hold off on including her in your specific training, he explained, noticing the Kunoichi's face drop slightly. But, I do have something in store that involves her Kekkei Genkai, he offered with a light tone, causing Sakura's eyes to snap to her sensei, a smile spreading across her face. Kakashi gave his students a masked smile. Now then, I think that's enough for today. Naruto, you're free to do some individual training with your shadow clones, and get used to the shared field of vision, but don't overdo it. We don't know how that will affect you just yet, he advised. Naruto nodded. Great, let's try, and meet tomorrow at 9 AM. I'm off to help oversee construction of the Hokage Tower. With that, Kakashi left with a wave of his hand and a swirl of leaves. Naruto had elected to stay behind, determined to acclimate himself to at least one clone's shared field of vision. He reassured his teammates that they could head back home to relax, but they refused to leave him by himself. Sakura cited that he would need her should something happen, since she was a medic. Sasuke had teased that the blonde needed a babysitter, which made Naruto scowl, while Sakura giggled. Sasuke and Sakura mostly observed, offering suggestions here and there to their teammate. Sasuke broke the news to the pink-haired Kunoichi that he moved in with Naruto, giving her the same explanation for his decision that he gave his new roommate the first time. Sakura squealed with joy, causing Sasuke to turn as red as the tomatoes he so enjoyed. Naruto's focus broke momentarily, but he remained vigilant in his quest to master one aspect of his Rinnegan. Team 7 remained at the training ground until sunset, parting ways at the midpoint between Sakura's apartment and Sasuke and Naruto's. Sakura felt like her day off was well spent. It had been a while since she had gotten a chance to spend time with her friends, particularly to sit and talk with Sasuke. She had been impressed with how well Naruto had done in his spar against Sasuke, and found herself in awe of his work ethic. She and Sasuke had lost count of how many times Naruto had created a single shadow clone. Eventually he was able to hold it and keep it from dispersing immediately, but he was still getting used to simultaneously seeing what his clone saw on top of what he saw. It was disorienting, to say the least. Sasuke had been impressed that Naruto had progressed as much as he did in just a few hours, a true testament to his resolve. The two young men discussed their options for refining Naruto's taijutsu further over a dinner of miso soup. The Uzumaki had whined about the lack of ramen, but he secretly enjoyed Sasuke's cooking, and the miso soup was tasty. Though, he found Sasuke's side dish of tomatoes to be a bit odd. Sasuke vehemently insisted that his roommate simply didn't understand. Thanks for watching my video, leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for